Small town. Damn, that's you strictly. Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
The All Things Sports Network family would like to extend its deepest condolences to the families of both former NBA player Dikembe Mutombo and former MLB player Pete Rose. Mutombo died today of brain cancer at the age of 55. He played 18 years in the NBA, was an 8-time All-Star, 3-time NBA All-Defensive Team, 4-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time rebound leader, 2-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year in college, and had the number 55 retired by both the Atlanta Hawks and the Denver Nuggets. Pete Rose played in the Major League from 63 to 1986 and managed from 84 to 89 as a 17-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champ, NL MVP in 1973, World Series MVP in 75, NL Rookie of the Year, 2-time Golden Glove Award winner, 3-time NL batting champ, and was inducted into the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame and received the Roberto Clemente Award, which is given annually to the player who best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to the team, voted by fans and members of the media. He passed away today at the age of 86. We'll have a brief moment of silence for both. Ladies and gentlemen, as it turns out, the Mets make it to the postseason. There's a silent cat in New York City, and we are back to give you the real in sports. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, live from Atlanta. They are Wade Julian, live from New York City. Big Kev Shotted, live from South Florida. And you are now tuned in to your number one sports talk show on the number one sports network, All Things Sports, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Odds in the ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. Kev, good to have you back in the building. June, back in New York City. We have a lot to get into, so let's get right into it. We had a thriller on Friday night when the Hokies visited Hard Rock Stadium. A lot of controversy towards the end of the game. Me and June talked last week, said it would be a rout. It was everything opposite of a rout. It was a dogfight, a hell of a game. Controversial call at the end as far as a touchdown, not touchdown after the Hail Mary. Kev, did the refs get the call right?
Yes, and that's why it's not controversial. I'm watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings in Charlotte, and I see I wear glasses, so I don't have the best vision. As soon as he hits the ground, the ball's under his arms. He doesn't have possession of the ball. The ball's out. I don't know why they called it a touchdown on the field. It was never even clear to be a touchdown on the field. So I think in that sense, they probably got it wrong. Like, I don't think you can just call it a touchdown if you don't even know. But that's what they have replay for. Like, I think there's a clear angle where you can see he comes down, butt hits the ground, ball pops out, he regain what the Hurricanes end up with the ball. So it's like I don't know. There's always going to be controversy if Miami is good. People for some reason hate the Hurricanes, and but that's a game that even you go back last year, Miami loses. So good to see them come out on the other side with a win, and I think again, I don't think it was that controversial at all. Great ending to a football game, but I don't think it was controversial. I think the refs got it right, and I think there was clear evidence that he did not catch that football.
For me, if I could piggyback off that, I don't know if you wanted to shift the focus, EP, but just to piggyback, I was at the game and I was probably sitting at the 15 on the side. Had a great view of it. Obviously, from my angle, I couldn't tell you if he caught it or didn't. When it happened, it looked like it was a catch because the ball came down and the ball didn't come out, and it was just like, so real quick, man, because to just finish up with this controversy thing, I think that people are up in arms about the fact that it was called a touchdown on the field and then reversed, but it took over 5, 6, 7 minutes for that reverse to come out. And typically when you see a review go that long, that means that video evidence isn't conclusive. They can't determine it for sure. They're just going to have to stick with the call on the field. Where I think the refs did the right thing. I want to commend the refs. I never did this about ACC refs. Kev, you know how that goes. They called it a touchdown on the field, even though it wasn't, because automatically it has to go to review. And so they could have, and the ref there could have made a better judgment call seeing the ball pop out, whether he did or not. They called touchdown. At the end of the day, it can be reviewed. And so they did, and they came out of the review with the right answer. So, yeah, to Kev, I don't see controversy. But where I could see where someone is a little like up in arms is the fact, one, if you're a Virginia Tech fan, and two, if you hate the Hurricanes, and three, the fact that it took them so long to overturn a call that some people, I don't, if you look at the replay, I mean, the ball comes out clearly, right? He doesn't complete the catch to the ground. It comes out. What's up, Kev?
No, I was going to say, I was surprised it even took that long because literally the first view where you see him from the front of him, you can see the ball pop out. And I said it right away. And my boy was there with me and he's like, I don't know. And then showed it a second time. He's like, I think you're right. So like we both saw it. He's
and
neutral.
It's like crazy it's crazy that there's some people that are like, I don't know, man. I see it. What are you looking at? Because let me set this up, man. First and foremost, I just got back to New York City today. I had an amazing time down in South Florida, as always. And going to a Hurricanes game, I try to make it to at least one every year. And so last year it was Clemson. This year was Virginia Tech on a Friday. Beautiful day. It rained. There was, a hurricane. So, thoughts are with, everybody that was affected by the hurricane this past weekend. And hopefully everybody can, figure that out. But it was a beautiful day during the game. And so I'm sitting up top with Steve Gio, their parents, my homie Marlon. Shout out to my boys. We all at the game getting lit. Boom. We in the game. Halftime comes. The first quarter took an hour, like in real time, which was crazy. We didn't get home from that 7:30 game on Friday night, leaving straight from our seat after the controversial call to the car, out of the stadium, home. I got home, I think, 12:40, which is crazy.
As you should.
Friday night, game 7:30. Like, God damn, get us out of here quicker. But man, it was set up to be a disaster for the Hurricanes. And Kev, we've been on this side, EP too. Like we've experienced the bad and the when shit's going too good. When is it gonna pop? And so left a little bit of time on the clock. And I felt like it was a little bit too much time on the clock based on the last couple drives that team was going. Shout out to Kyron Drones, man. He really balled out versus cousin Cam Ward over there. Man, he driving downfield, making throws, running the ball. I'm like, oh, shit. is getting a little uncomfortable. 8 seconds left, right? 8 seconds left, third down. I'm like, somebody behind me goes, last play. I said, he got a couple plays with this 8 seconds. Let me see. That's when he ran the ball, got out of bounds, left 3 seconds on the clock. As soon as he went out of bounds, I didn't know the boys behind me, but I turned around and I said, look, man, I don't want to say it, and I'm not going to say anything specific. I'm going to just say this. I felt the way I feel right now before, and I don't like this shit. Like, I just, something about this, the game is taking way too long to finish. Shit just kind of lining up for Virginia Tech. It was too good to be true. We had the Restrepo catch. We had the Cam Ward Heisman throw. You know, there was another big play on that drive that, like, bro, we're catching break after break. I'm like, we're not gonna catch another break. It just doesn't add up. So now 3 seconds when he throws the ball's in the air for like fucking 2 minutes, bro. We're sitting there like, ball comes down. I don't see it pop out. I don't see anybody swat the ball. I see everybody looking like they're trying to go up. Ah, man. The ball doesn't come out. It just went silent. It just went silent in the stadium, yo. We was like we've seen this story before, you know? And so we waited for that replay. Bro, at first replay, we're like, oh, well, first, as we didn't see the replay yet, but the player ends up with the ball. And so he starts running out the end zone. They do the light show, Canes win, and the rest is like, yo, hold on. And then as they dimming the lights and the guy's running away, I see the ref like this. I was like, bro, they just ruled a touchdown. I was like, wait. Oh man. By the way, DK Metcalf just scored a touchdown.
I don't think he did, but I
That's
think
funny.
he was short.
So okay.
No, but I was gonna say also to the point that you said that the refs ruled it a touchdown so they could review it. They were in the last 2 minutes, so they could review it regardless. Whether they ruled it a touchdown or an incomplete pass, they could have gone to review it. So
this is true.
Either way, I don't see how.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little crazy at that moment because it was crazy after they ruled it a touchdown. You know, Hurricanes thought they won, stormed the field. Not even stormed, but like everybody, yeah, they kind of like ran on the field. Refs blew everybody off. Yo, back to your benches. Boom, do the review. And then Virginia Tech during the when they call touchdown, they storm the field. They start Cam Ward celebration. They start talking this shit midfield, standing on the logo. Refs like, yo, we got to review this, bro. Back up, y'all back up. All right, bet. So now, bro, the review took it. It was probably like in that 7 minutes, but it felt like a 15-minute thing. Like we was just in there waiting. And this is the last play of the game, so it's like just give us the answer so we could go home at this point. So we waiting. And bro, it was just like the biggest buildup. And Kev, we're gonna come back to this point of the season, and we're gonna say, dog, you remember Virginia Tech? What a sweat it was, bro. Like, and we're here now. We're undefeated at the end of the season. It's gonna be great. But I said, bro, if that ref comes out of that review tent and doesn't say the word reversed, it's up. Like it's up. We might have to get on the field for real. He said the call's reverse, touchdown, end the game, bro. The way the players went on the field and started talking shit dead in their face to Virginia Tech, like, it was great. It was great. Like it was like we felt the pain of late calls and bowl games. We felt the pain of getting blown out. We felt the pain of Georgia Tech fumble last year where they fucked up and fucked us for the game. Obviously, coaching could have been better, but rules are rule. This season is just different, bro. If things are going our way, and I couldn't be more happy as a Hurricanes fan right now to have a Heisman candidate quarterback, a top 5 offense, a great defense, and we don't even have all of our guys right now, you know? So
it had, first of all, shout out to Restrepo for that catch from his ass, because that was crazy. On 4th down. Like that's the play of the game. But it felt like Georgia Tech. Like that's what it was starting to. So like when you said that, that's why I laughed when you said like I felt this feeling before because it was reminding me of Georgia Tech. When he ran out of bounds with 3 seconds left, I was like, this feels like Georgia Tech.
Like,
I don't know.
Christ.
Like if there's a team in the country that is going to lose this game, it is the Miami Hurricanes because they did it last year, they did it the year before, they've done it consistently over these last several
this
years.
is a game they lose.
Yeah, and for them to not lose that game, I think is huge. And And that's a big moment for Cam Ward coming back from down 10 in the fourth quarter in a game that you can lose, and bringing your team back and winning that game is big for his Heisman resume. Even though it's not a Georgia or Alabama that he beat, but those are the games you got to win and win that game.
I think he won a game he had to win, and also he made those plays for the team to win because he came out first drive turnover. He had 3 turnovers in this game. That's not to be overstated, but it's to be overstated a little bit because he came out and still was able to deliver a great second half, still deliver over 300 yards, still 3 touchdowns, and still find a way to win the game at the end, making plays. He makes his teammates better. He is not the sole reason, but he is a big part of the reason why things are going the way they are this season. I think coaching has a lot to do with it this season. Experience with Mario's guys being there for another year, but having a quarterback that just always calm, never looks stressed. Like, as shout out to Tyler Van Dyke, but I mean, didn't he look kind of fucking nervous? Like, just randomly, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just would be looking a little nervous. So we don't have that. We have a guy that when Restrepo looks, when our freshman wide receiver looks, bro, we're down. It's cool. We're good. He gives them that sense of comfort and confidence. Now, last thing I want to point out with the Canes is that the last time we had a season just like this, we ended up going undefeated. We ended up going 10-0 until the last game of the season. But things went our way all season. Like, we had the Georgia Tech moment with the rainy game, 4th down. We had the FSU game winning, last play. And there was probably another moment or two that I'm missing, but it just feels very similar. However, Malik Rozier, Cam Ward, like, it's night and day. And shout to Malik Rozier. That's I would believe that he understands what I'm saying when I say that. So, I'm super excited, bro.
Yeah, you guys referenced the Georgia Tech game from last year, and obviously last year we started 4-0, and like you guys mentioned, lost that Georgia Tech game. It definitely felt this win, that call getting overturned in the last, minutes, last seconds, past the last seconds, definitely felt like a huge, like a Joe Montana get this monkey off my back type of thing. Like this, like you guys said, this is a game that we typically would lose no matter who the opponent is. But at this point in the season, it's kind of like this is where like we get to that, that proverbial top of the hill, and things start to, kind of look downward. But although it was, again, quote unquote controversial, whatever, I guess it's controversial because it's conversational and it had to go into review and things like that. Like we say on the ATS family, a dub is a dub, and we'll take it. We are on to who are we on to next week? We're on to Cal. We're going to Cal.
We got a college game day at Cal. First time ever. And we're going to put a spanking on their ass, boy.
Cal in the Atlantic Coast Conference, California.
California.
RIP the Pac-12, like we spoke about on the last pod. You know who?
Hey, they're making a comeback.
All right, we'll see.
They got a few teams going over.
I got high hopes for you, bro. We gonna see. You know who didn't get the dub? Ole Miss opens conference play with a loss at home to unranked Kentucky by missing a 48-yard field goal in the last 40 seconds of the game. Hook left, wide left, all the way left. The shit looked like a boomerang, to be honest. Kentucky 3-2, 1-2 in conference. Ole Miss with their first loss and opening conference play with the loss, 4-1, 0-1 in the conference. I mean, they wore out first downed 22-14. They did have Ole Miss, as in they had the only turnover of the game. Kentucky held possession for 39 minutes, almost 40 minutes to Ole Miss's 20 minutes of possession of the football. June, how important of a loss or how big of a win is this for Kentucky, or how important of a loss is it for Ole Miss?
I think it's a big win for Kentucky, right? This is just Kentucky going out here and showing that they are a good SEC football team. And, they're not the cream of the crop. They're not the team to beat by any means, but they're going to come out here and compete and make it tough for every opponent they play. We saw what they did versus Georgia and how that defense was able to shut down their offense. This is a team, Ole Miss here, with a Heisman candidate quarterback, Jackson Dart, who was almost outplayed by Brock Vandagriff. And shout out to Brock Vandagriff, because I didn't expect him to come out here and throw for 250 yards. I didn't expect him Granted, he didn't have an amazing game, but he had an efficient game, moved the ball downfield, didn't turn the ball over, unlike uh, unlike the Ole Miss Rebels did. This is their first win. Mind you, to answer your question, it's a huge win for Kentucky because this is their first win in Ole Miss since '78. Like that's got to be something. As far as Ole Miss taking this loss, I think it's a humbling experience. I think it's something they can learn from and get better from. Nobody has to go undefeated these days, with the 12-team college football playoff.
Yeah.
They're ranked 6. They were ranked 6 in the country. I think they dropped out of the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they went to 12 now. So, I said, humble experience. Jackson Dart, he's a great quarterback, so he'll bounce back. And thankfully, they're not going to have to play a defense like that until they play Georgia in a few weeks. So, probably the next month. So, I want to see how they respond, though. I want to see how Lane Kiffin comes back after this loss. Heisman candidate, Jackson Dart. How do you come back after a loss where your offense looked like you had no answer for this defense all day? Because, you did say they lost because of a missed field goal. And quote unquote true, they lost because they couldn't get shit going on offense and they didn't take care of the football. So that's kind of how I saw it on Saturday.
Yeah, and they go on to play South Carolina, who smoked Kentucky
on the road.
Right. So, and they hadn't played anybody to that point. 4-0 and all big wins, but not Georgia Tech or Wake Forest. I'm sorry, was their toughest matchup to that point. And I don't think that's Wake Forest is anything to write home about when you're looking at your schedule. So. I don't think that's a game that really concerns you unless you're Florida State. But that was a subtle shot at Florida State.
It's not even fun anymore.
Yeah, it's over.
It's so
bad. But yeah, so I think next week, or is it next week? Yeah, this Saturday will tell us who they are when they play their second SEC game at South Carolina, who's not a great team, but they just lost to Kentucky, and South Carolina beat Kentucky in Kentucky, and now they got to go to South Carolina, and then they've got a tough part of their schedule where they play LSU and then Oklahoma in back-to-back weeks. So
yeah,
SEC's tough. Like you said, you don't have to go undefeated anymore with 12 teams making the playoff. So there's still an opportunity for you to make the playoff, especially as an SEC team. If you've got one loss, maybe even if you have 2 losses on the year and have a couple of good wins. So still opportunity for Ole Miss there, but I think this week against South Carolina will really tell us where they are and if they are for real.
You got anything else on that game, June?
No, I just, to Kev's point, I did want to say, South Carolina, not really a good team. They have a good record, haven't really played much. Lost a close game to LSU. That was a game that me and EP kind of spoke about where Brian Kelly, had to win. So I want to see Ole Miss. Like, Ole Miss can score, and Kentucky has a very good defense. Now, South Carolina was able to put 31 up on them, but they were only able to put up 6 points in that game. So it's week to week. Kev makes a great point. This is a team that did get blown out by SC, and they went on to lose. But hey, I mean, Brock Vandergrift in the first game of the season only threw for 3 of 10 for 30 yards. Their backup came in, threw for 3 of 7, 14 yards. I mean, we just saw the same quarterback progress his game and throw for 250 yards against Ole Miss. I don't believe, they're going to lose to SC. I don't believe SC is going to beat Ole Miss. And I also don't think Vanderbilt's going to beat Kentucky this Saturday. So.
Let's move it over to a game that we spoke about last week as well. Oklahoma State visiting Kansas State. The line was -5.5. I said, Kansas State wins, but it'll be a close game. And once again, everything but a close game, 42-20. Listen, on paper, the stats say this game was pretty close. I mean, Oklahoma State had more first downs. They were more efficient on third down. But when you are outgained on the ground by 174 yards, you're going to lose the game, especially when possession is split. June, I said when we spoke about this game that whoever loses this game would probably be out of the top 25. Does Oklahoma State now fall out of the top 25 when the rankings come out tomorrow?
Uh, Thankfully the rankings came out yesterday. So
Yeah, my bad.
yes, yes, they are out of that top 25, deservedly so. I mean, they got whooped. They didn't lose. They got whooped. Like you said, I mean, the box score might say something, but I mean, this game was never competitive. The first quarter was probably the most competitive quarter for about 10 minutes or so. And then, I mean, Alan Bowman was only able to throw for one touchdown. And it's crazy because he had 350 yards plus, 360 yards plus, turned the ball over twice. And if you're playing against a guy like Avery Johnson who could throw the ball for 250 and 3 touchdowns, you know, I mean, hey, but I think he had Avery Johnson had 5 touchdowns. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns that game as well, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he was on one. So they didn't have an answer for that. And they threw the ball 50 times. I mean, they ran the ball as a team for 126 yards, but they threw the ball 50 times and only came out with 1 passing touchdown. So I don't know about that one. They did fall out of the top 25. And I told you, I thought they were going to win this game because they were coming off of a loss to Utah. And so they suffered back-to-back losses, go from 14 to 20, 20 to out unranked. And now they got West Virginia, who competitive team. I think they bounce back this week against West Virginia at home. But if we're sitting here next week, like, yo, West Virginia came out and won. They got OK State at -4. But if West Virginia comes and upsets OK State, I mean, shit, we gotta start questioning some things around there.
Kev.
Yeah, I have a rule. It's not 100%. Nothing in betting is. And Baylor actually lost, and they were part of the rule this week. But if there's ever a lower ranked or unranked team favored against a ranked team or a higher ranked team, I'm always taking that team. So had a feeling Kansas State was going to win. Vegas is baiting you. Like, Vegas wants you to take the ranked team. They're like, oh, the ranked team is getting plus money. I'm going to take that. And then you end up getting your ass kicked. So I usually like to go the other way with that. And paid off this week with Kansas State. Didn't pay off with Baylor. But I kind of felt this coming. You mentioned the way that it looks as far as the Oklahoma State yardage versus Kansas State yardage. But like you said, the run game, they absolutely dominated. And then you win the turnover battle 3-1. You outgain them on the ground and you win the turnover battle. That's usually a good recipe to win the game. So
we will take it to Bama. Number 2, Georgia visits Bryant Denny. And I want to say, I'm going to go on the limb and say this might be a strong candidate for game of the year, because what a game did we receive. The first half, nonchalant, you know, Bama's up crazy, 21-0 after the first quarter. I think it's 30-7 at halftime. It just looked crazy. And then for 20 football minutes straight, Georgia started slapping Bama in the face throughout the entire third quarter. Fourth quarter rolls around. Georgia has to score 19 points in the fourth to make a comeback, and almost pulled off the largest comeback in FBS history. But a young man by the name of Jalen Milroe goes 27 for 33, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, does throw an interception, but ultimately turnover, like June said, could be overlooked, overstated. 41-34 win, 4-0, 1-0. Kalen DeBoer takes down Georgia. I mean, June, talk to me about some of the highlights of this game. Wine Williams, I had to look up. I had to become familiar with this young man. I had to do my Googles after the game and see who this young man is. Alabama native, 5-star recruit, going crazy, doing acrobatics on the field, it seemed. How did you receive this game? Talk to me about some keys.
Yeah, I mean, you said young man Jalen Milroe. I would say younger man Ryan Williams. When you got a player like that, first of all, let's be clear. This kid is generationally good. Like, it's not often. I mean, when have we seen a 17-year-old wide receiver at Alabama starting? and we know the number of guys and the talent and the names that have come and gone through that wide receiving room. That being said, for him to come out in the biggest stage of his career so far, UGA, you got the number one team in the country in your home. Obviously, you guys are riding high. You guys come out popping shit, right? Jalen Milroe comes out the first few drives looking like the Heisman Trophy winner. Can't stop him on the run. I don't think Georgia was getting any pressure on the quarterback, and so he was back there, comfortable and able to get at least 5 to 6 yards every time you wanted to tuck it and run. Whatever Georgia said, what I want to know is what Coach, what's his name, Kirby Smart, what Coach Kirby was telling them at halftime, because it's like y'all boys getting routed right now. Like y'all the number one team in the country right now. Came on the road to a team that doesn't have the same coach they've had for the last 20 years or whatever the case. And so this is what you let them do to you? This is how do you respond to that? And Georgia came out second half. They took over. Carson Beck went and threw for 440 yards, 3 touchdowns. After a abysmal first half, he threw 2 or 3 picks in the first half. And it really looked like Georgia was like scared. Like them boys had their tails tucked. They didn't really want that smoke. And so, again, like I said, whatever Kirby Smart told him at halftime, whatever video he showed them, whatever threat he made to the boys, it woke them up. It woke them up. And we got one of the best finishes all season and in a while. So what I was going to say, though, you got a guy like Ryan Williams who gets his number called in the biggest moments. And that's, to me, less coaching and more ignorance, if you will. Jalen Milroe, he's like, yo, I know my young bull lit. He been balling all day. I'm gonna give it to him. I'm gonna throw the ball to him because, and I could be wrong. I don't know that they're drawing up these plays for Ryan Williams to be the number one guy on all these targets. But I think Jalen Milroe just has that chemistry and that trust with him that he's like, yo, this is my boy. He's
and that
throwing
IQ
back
too.
shoulder fades. Yeah, it's like back shoulder fades. He's not doing nothing crazy. But it's that after the catch, we get to see footwork, we get to see speed, explosiveness. And for him to have scored that last touchdown in the style that he did, dead leg spin move up the sideline, just outburst. We got 3 more years of this. You know what I'm saying? We got 2.5 more years of this. And so I'm just excited for Alabama. They do deserve to be top 3. I think number 1. I think number 1 was a little, but then again, you know what I'm saying? You beat the number 1 team. And you do it in a way where, you showed you got dominance, and then they showed as the number 1 team. We ain't going down like that. But you still were able to withstand that, go through the motions through your game, ups and downs, and find a way to close it out after Carson Beck comes back and fucking puts his Heisman candidate, meat on the table.
Absolutely. Hey, I mean, and then for Ryan Williams to I think the best part of this all is for him to put Michael Vick holding a dog as his Instagram profile picture.
I got no comment. I got no comment.
I got a dark sense of humor, and after the performance, you know what? I'll allow it.
We're gonna let it rock.
Now, Kev, Kirby Smart, like June just alluded to, I think the stat is 86-4 against everybody else, 1-6 versus Georgia. We've seen in college that
versus Bama.
Versus Bama. Sorry, 1-6 versus Bama in his career at Georgia. We've seen in college football the narrative of, hey, you can beat everybody, but if you can't beat the team that matters, it's a bigger deal. Is that a narrative that should be being spoken of in Georgia right now?
I mean, the 1 is a pretty big 1, right? Like, that's the biggest one. So, as long as you got that one and you got 2 in a row, not against Bama, but you got back to back. Like, I think Kirby Smart's doing okay. They looked awful for 45 minutes of football. You said what he said to him at halftime. I don't know what he said to them before the fourth quarter, because that's when they seemed to wake up. So I'm in Charlotte. I had a long day. getting a headache. I had one Advil PM packet in my luggage that I've had for like 2 months in there. Haven't needed it. I'm up watching the game. I'm like, Georgia scores. It's 30-15. I'm like, all right, it's 2-possession game. After they make the 2-point conversion, let's see where this goes before I decide to take this Advil PM. Alabama comes down like a 6.5 minute drive to get a field goal. I'm like, all right, they held them to a field goal. Some fight left. Fumble on the very next drive. I'm like, let me take this Advil. Go to sleep. I take the Advil, lay down. I see Georgia score that next touchdown to make it 33-21. Missed the 2-point conversion. And that is the last thing I remember. That Advil PM knocked me out. And I woke up. I think I woke up and saw they scored. And it was 33-28. I couldn't tell you for sure. The Advil had me on my ass. And I woke up the next morning and saw what happened. And I was like, I'm upset that I took that Advil because I missed a hell of an ending. But to your point, Ryan Williams is incredible. 17 years old, doing what he's doing. We do get another 2. I don't even know if it's 2.5. It might be 3 because I think he won't even be old enough after his junior year to go into the NFL. So it might be 3.5 years that we get of Ryan Williams. But we get that and probably 2.5 of Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. So we got great talent at the receiver position at 2 big programs that we're going to be able to watch for the next couple of years that I think are just going to make play after play every week after week that look like they did this week. The both of them made incredible plays. Ryan Williams obviously in a much bigger stage in a much bigger game. And, you know, that's magnified. But that catch by Jeremiah, I just had to bring that up.
Both of them, honestly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was, I mean, that's next level. He's next level. This kid, Ryan Williams, is next level. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from that game. Like, as good as Jalen Milroe is, like, there's some balls that you throw up like that, and not every receiver is coming down with it, except for those elite guys. So Ryan Williams able to make a play and then make a play after the play and get in the end zone. So hell of an ending. Upset that I missed it live, but that's just
live was exhilarating. I can't.
It was, and I had a little coin on the game, a friendly wager with one of my coworkers. So in real time, right, 11:12 p.m. after Georgia takes the lead, he says, "Go Dogs!" Right? I'm like, all right, 11:12 p.m. I feel it. I like the competition. At 11:15,
11:50. I was gonna say 16.
11:15, I sent him the emoji. You know, like, hey, relax, bro. Fun facts. Ryan Williams, Saraland High School alumni from Saraland, Alabama, had 88 receptions for 1,641 yards, 24 touchdowns as a sophomore in 22, and then 72 receptions for 1,324 yards, 19 touchdowns as a junior. The only two-time Alabama Mr. Football, and the only one to win it as a sophomore. The kid can hoop. Like I said, I had to do my Googles because I wasn't necessarily familiar with his game. We got a couple other college football games to recap. We'll get back to them later. I want to flip it over to the NFL. We do have Monday Night Football live right now. Live right now. Titans, Dolphins in Miami. Titans up 9-3 at the start of the third quarter. June.
All right, we've talked enough about this game.
I was about to say, in other news, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, I don't.
That's fair. Yeah. Two winless teams, pretty much.
I mean, look, I'm gonna let you get your shit off, but you know what I'm here for, so I'm gonna let you get your shit off. You know why I'm here.
And then the line looking into the Seahawks at the Detroit Lions. The Lions up 21-7, about to go into the half. I do have some coin on Lions -3 in the first half. So, I'm gonna need the bookie to send that over real quick. And you know what, June? Because I know you got lots to talk about, we'll start with what I know you definitely want to talk about. We do have Brill in the chat, or he was in the chat. I don't know if he's still there.
Hey, E, you gonna make me act up. You gonna make me act up.
Amen. The Colts win at home against the Steelers 27-24. I mean, Anthony Richardson was only 3 for 4. Joe Flacco comes in 16 for 26, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries, 88 yards, a touchdown. Justin Fields did what he could do, but it just wasn't enough. June, tell me about some key takeaways from this game and how you guys were able to execute.
Well, first and foremost, shout out to Brill, shout out to Breeze. I didn't talk to them all day on Sunday until after the game. I typed up a couple messages during the game, deleted them. I'm like, you know what? I was a little nervous still. It was still a lot of time left, so I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna do that. I hit them up at the end of the game. Hopefully, we could, keep this lead. I'll say this before. Let me get this out. Justin Fields is a fucking baller. And the Chicago Bears should have kept Justin Fields. And we all knew this. I mean, we all knew this.
No, we
but
did.
Justin Fields is a baller. And first of all, he just put up numbers that no Colts Steelers quarterback has put up in some odd years. And so he threw that ball, the way he threw that ball, like Adrian Peterson said, and was able to get that rushing touchdown. I mean, he's clutch. He's a clutch player. He's young. He'll learn. There was some, inexperience. There was like, the drop snap, he had a fumble that actually they called it not a fumble. Bullshit, or that he recovered it. That was some bullshit. But he had some mistakes here and there. And if you're Mike Tomlin, you're like, you know what? I could go with this. This is coachable. This is fixable. What he's doing and the way he's able to take over certain plays at certain times of the game, you can't coach. And so you got to be proud of him. And again, shout out to Justin Fields. I'm a big fan. But that first half, let's talk about it. Because, I was talking cash shit about Justin Fields himself. Boy, he trashes. Boy, I was talking mad shit, but, the Colts defense, give them a lot of credit. They came out there with a plan. It was to stop the run and get to the quarterback. And what did I say? I said pressure on Justin Fields, EP, last week. I told Bro, I said pressure on Justin Fields. Make him uncomfortable, make him make some good throws. And he's not like that. He's not like that for real. Not yet to an extent. If he has pressure in his face consistently, he's going to make a mistake. You also got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line. So the trenches, both offense, both defense. Listen, we smacked them boys dead in their face, and they did not want to come to play. They didn't. And we saw it. It was just physicality. Every time we get in a run play, I mean, Anthony Richardson, you said he only threw for 3 or 4 passes. First of all, he threw a couple dots, right? But other than that, he had a couple runs. I don't want to talk about Anthony Richardson, the injury. We're going to talk about the victory right now because he's getting on my nerves now. However, I like what I saw with Joe Flacco, able to come in that bitch and thread the ball. That's what he does. My thing is, we got talent on that team, and Anthony Richardson is still growing up before our eyes, so we're never going to get the full, we'll get the full picture of what this team can be, glimpses throughout a game, but we're never going to get 60 minutes this season of just Anthony Richardson got it down pat. Like, no. And that's okay, and I've bought into that. But, man, I'll tell you, seeing a guy who can read a defense like the back of his hand and thread that ball and throw that ball, rip it like he's back in Baltimore, I mean, it's kind of like you asked me, who do I want to start on Sunday? I mean, if Anthony Richardson is healthy, of course I want my boy to start. 5 is 5, and he's athletic. He's 250. He can run. He can throw. He started off really great, couple dots on Sunday. But, like, does Joe Flacco give us the better chance to win? He fucking might. He just might. And that's just experience. That's just, ball placement, things like that. But, yeah, man, all I could say now is that's 2 straight years that I've been knowing Brill and Breeze, and we 2-0 against them Steelers. You feel me? Shane Steichen 2-0 against them Steelers. Both home games. I don't got much else to say. Take that shit somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Take that AFC North talk somewhere else. I don't care if the Bengals suck. I don't care if the Bengals good. Y'all not better than the Colts. We can move on, Kev. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the game or if you wanted to get straight into that Falcons Saints.
Just one quick thing. The Colts, seeing Anthony Richardson and his injury, injury history, not really history, it's 1 year, but seeing him get injured last year, had a game plan for if it were to happen again by going and signing a guy who just did it on another team last year. The Dolphins should take notes. That's it.
Hey,
He's
that's
gonna
great.
get some hate off if he can.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, let's take it over. Let's bring it back to Atlanta real quick, where the Falcons are cool on that. You heard they win a last-second nail biter, and they were one of 3 legs on a parlay ticket I had yesterday. So that cash. Shout out to the Falcons for making that happen. Young Hoku comes in and cashes, right? I mean, but it's interesting because I said the Falcons would win only because a couple things. Derek Carr, don't believe in him, don't like him for obvious reasons. We'll get to that later. I think that he was playing over his head in these first couple of weeks, and that regression was looming. Atlanta is just a slightly better put together team. But damn, they had no offensive touchdowns in this game, Atlanta. I don't know how
It was a struggle.
I don't know how sustainable that is, but they had no offensive touchdowns. Kirk Cousins had a pick. And it really almost came back to bite them in the end when they got no timeouts on their last drive. I don't know how they pulled off that 58-yard field goal, but they did it. They got the win. Kev, how in trouble are the Saints at this point?
I don't think they're in trouble. I still think that division. I don't know what Tampa Bay is. They're confusing.
It's the big show. It's the big show, bro.
It is, but last week it looked terrible. Like last week was bad.
Yeah, versus the Broncos.
And the Broncos get 2 wins in a row, but they dominated Tampa. Like that wasn't an accidental win. That was just like a smack you in the mouth and we're out of here type win. So, I don't know who the Buccaneers are. I think that's a winnable division still. I wouldn't say the Saints are in trouble. They've looked better than they looked last year. I think Derek Carr has looked better than he looked last year. To this point, I think Alvin Kamara has been looking more like the Alvin Kamara of old, which is great. Taysom Hill goes out in that game. So I don't think they're in trouble. I think that division is up in the air between the Saints, the Falcons, and the Buccaneers. Who's the 4th team in that division?
Panthers, brother. You ain't forgetting shit.
Yeah, you a funny guy. Kev got some time off and wrote some jokes while he was gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of NFL teams. That's why I didn't think of it. But
FCS.
but yeah. So I, other than the Panthers, that division is wide open.
Yeah. I hear you. I mean, June, how sustainable is this formula for a Falcons team? No offensive touchdowns. I mean, you were out first downs by 11, 25 to 14. I think one of the more alarming ones, this game had 136 yards worth of penalties, 15 penalties combined. How sustainable is this formula for Atlanta, June? It's keeping them out there in this division.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll be able to find out a little bit more that answer, and to see if they're going to be able to change that. And also to Kev's point, what Buccaneers team are we going to get this year consistently? I mean, we got Thursday night football in Atlanta, Buccaneers, Falcons, right? This is going to be the test. We got Buccaneers, Falcons. Can the Falcons score on that? That Buccaneers defense either looks like they're full of Pro Bowlers or Bo Nix is coming into town to open a can of whoop ass on you. So there are some questions that need to be answered. I don't think that Kirk Cousins looks comfortable.
I agree.
Now, right?
I agree.
He's not playing bad football. Like he's not being super inefficient with the ball. He is turning it over, not being super inefficient. But I do think that their offensive line could also help them there a little more, because you have a guy like Kirk who isn't the most mobile quarterback, and he's a guy who has to be upright in the pocket and be able to step up in the pocket. The Falcons are working on that. They got a couple guys down there in that line, but they do need to draft, continue to draft offensive line to build this up, because you can't go another week without, and I don't think they're going to not score a touchdown the next week offensively. But the way the Buccaneers played last week, it kind of makes you feel like shit. I mean, who knows? This Buccaneers team looks either super legit or like trash, and we've gotten the super legit more times than not. So I'm just more intrigued to see what Buccaneers team, what Baker Mayfield is going to show up on Thursday night, and it's a short week, so I don't know if that plays into Atlanta's advantage or not. What's Kev smirking over there for?
You were just talking about teams not scoring touchdowns. I was going to make a Dolphins joke, but I was going to let it go.
You're above it.
Oh man, hey man, I want to bring it down to Tampa Bay in a wild card rematch from last year, where the Eagles come into town, and what do you know? I called it. They lose 33-16. The Eagles come into town looking to avenge their way that their season ended last year, and they were not able to do it. Now, a lot of criticism in the offseason towards Nick Sirianni, and rightfully so. I had a lot of criticism for him as well. Jalen Hurts, interesting stat. He is only being out, I guess, fumbled and intercepted by Levis this year, by Will Levis. Will Levis is the only quarterback that has more turnovers, combined interceptions and fumbles, than Jalen Hurts. So, Kev, my question to you: who is more to blame at this point, Sirianni or Jalen Hurts' play?
Ooh.
I mean, I would say it's tough. They're down their top two receivers, and one is arguably a top 10 receiver in the league, and the other one is one of the best young receivers in the league. So they're missing that. So that doesn't make it any easier on Hurts. That said, turn around and hand the ball to Barkley. Like if you're Nick Sirianni. So he's been unreal all season. Like every time he touches the ball, it looks like he's ready to make a play or at least rip off a nice run and get you a good chunk of yardage to make Jalen Hurts' life easier on second down and not be stuck in a 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10 situation. So I'd say with those two guys out, you got to lean on Barkley. I wouldn't rush to judgment on this Eagles team just yet because of the fact that they are down AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but they definitely need those guys back sooner than later because things are going to start to get uncomfortable if they're not already for that team.
Yeah. For me, it's like this Eagles team I understand you're down Devontae Adams, you're down AJ Brown, but that doesn't give you the excuse to just go and shit the bed. First of all, your defense is healthy. You got guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on that defensive line. You got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson talking all this shit all week, belt to ass. And it looked like there was no competition for Baker Mayfield. He stood tall in the pocket. He's only 5'9", 5'10". He stood tall in the pocket. He was able to deliver. He was able to step into throws. He had no pressure all day. And they made it easier for him. So, like, this is why I would blame maybe Nick Sirianni a little more than Jalen Hurts. Because, like Kev said, turn the ball and hand it over to Saquon. I mean, you have arguably the best and biggest offensive line in the game. So if it fails you to run the ball all game because your two starting receivers who are top 10 and top 15 worthy names, who's going to get mad when you run the ball 40 times a game, because that's how you supplement what the fuck you lost. But if you're throwing the ball for 40 times still, knowing that Jalen Hurts has an interception coming into this game in 8 straight games, and he's leading the league in turnovers. I think you said Will Levis only has more interceptions, but he has the most fumbles and interceptions of any quarterback. And I think it's like 23
it's
or
20,
something like that.
It's 27 dating back to last season. 7 picks, 7 turnovers this season.
That's horrible. And so as bad as, Jalen Hurts has to take accountability. There is blame pie for Jalen Hurts. Here's a slice. The rest of this is going to Nick Sirianni because you got two sides of the ball here, and Jalen Hurts can't do everything. And maybe if they did run the ball a little more, it could have helped Jalen Hurts. And maybe if they ran the ball and found success, and then their defense actually stepped up and played good and helped them, maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't mess up. However, I'm not going to be blind to the fact that Jalen Hurts is part of this issue. And he has an issue holding on to the ball too long, not making the right decision, not trusting the it doesn't look like he's playing as free. Like he's kind of like stuck in his game right now. And so I don't know if the addition of Saquon Barkley to the offense has anything to do with it. Losing your number 1 and 2 receiver has something to do with it. Losing Shane Steichen, who was your offensive coordinator when you went to the Super Bowl and put up 500 yards versus Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, but Dan Orlowski the other day on Get Up, or I think it was on Get Up, said, Jalen Hurts has peaked, and we've seen the best of Hurts. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree. I see what he's saying, though. I do see what he's saying, though. And so right now, with the relationship between him and Sirianni being what it is, there was like a comment yesterday that he made alluding to like you can kind of make an assumption that there as much as he might say they don't have an issue, there's issues in that locker room. But we're all grown. We all got bosses. We've all dealt with a boss we ain't like and still went to work, and still did our job, and we're successful at the job. That's the way you got to do it sometimes. So right now, Jalen Hurts just has to kind of come back down to earth, figure shit out, and slow it down. And he's also in a new offense now. Kellen Moore, I believe is their offensive coordinator. So shit, it's gonna be because Kev said don't stress too much on this Eagles team. And I feel him because, like, at the end of the day, they do have Devontae Smith coming back. A.J. Brown will be healthy in a few weeks. The defense can turn it on. The offensive line is there. They got Saquon. Jalen Hurts is no slouch. But the Eagles have shown us who they are, in the last 15, 14 weeks of football. They've shown us. And we can ignore it, and we can say, nah, it's just because of this or that. Or they might have to blow this shit up sooner than later. You know what I'm saying? Because A.J. Brown's going to get annoyed soon enough. Or Devontae Smith is owed a lot of money. And I don't know. So I'll say this. Winning cures everything. Can Philadelphia come out this next week versus who they get this week? Philly got – I got it right here. Philly's on a bye week this week. They get the early bye. That's a fact. Philly's on a bye week. Figure it out, boys. You know what I'm saying? Get healthy. As many people that you can get back for week 6, get them back. You guys got week 6. Philly is at home versus Cleveland, who is 1-3, but they're playing pretty competitive. Deshaun Watson had a good game last night, and it's interesting. So this Philly team, this bye week is going to be a crucial time for them to get shit right,
It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this Hurts and Sirianni saga kind of unravels, even after their loss in the press conference when he was asked about if he would speak to his head coach regarding the identity of the team moving forward. He literally had a 3-word reply. He said, "We have our moments." He didn't even really answer the question. He just said we have our moments. So I'm very interested to see how this unravels. We talked a lot last year as far as the Bills are concerned, and we'll get to them in 1 second. Whether Josh Allen or McDermott goes first, they're both still there. Steph Diggs left town. I'm interested to see how long this lasts. I don't think Sirianni should have been the head coach to start the season, but I do think you have to keep him through the season at this point. June.
So before we get to Bills, Ravens, Kev, did you have something you wanted to finish up on the Eagles?
I just wanted to say on like what I said earlier with have Hurts just give Barkley the football. It's the things like that we see when you are down important players in your offense, and you're an offensive guy. Like you gotta adjust your game plan at some point and be able to go like we said, like see it in Miami with McDaniel right now. They're struggling down a quarterback. Like you've got 2 elite skill guys. You've got one in the backfield, a guy who's regarded as one of the best young running backs in the league. Like it shouldn't be that difficult if you're an offensive guru to make things happen. Like, and then we talked about it off air. Like Sean McVay, he gets Baker Mayfield and has 4 days with him. And Baker comes out and looks like an all-pro, like
game-winning drive.
It's about putting your players in the best position, and it's basketball to football is apples to oranges, but that's what makes Eric Spoelstra so great. His philosophy. Shout out to Spo. his philosophy is, what do you do well, and how can I put you in that position to do what you do
Yeah.
well on the court. So same thing with football. You got to figure out what your guys do well and put them in that position to do well on the field. And when guys are out of the lineup, you stick somebody in who can complement what you do well on the field.
Yeah. I like I said, before we get to that Ravens Bills game, I want to get to another coach and quarterback controversy we might have coming out of week 4. Where, a team doesn't have more than one false start penalty all season and then finally has 5 false start penalties in a rainy, wet, super nasty game. By the way, Kev's wearing that jersey right now. I think that's number 8 on it. Is that the Jets there? Oh, he's got the Sauce Gardner jersey. Thank God. All right. So, Jets come out of last night. Horrible performance you guys put up. I'll let Kev talk about the performance and what he saw, what he liked, didn't like, and all that. But what I saw and what stood out to me in the press conference, they asked Coach Saleh about, the 5 or so penalties, because it was more than 5 penalties all game, but the 5 false starts. We know Aaron Rodgers is big on cadence. He's been doing it since Green Bay. He's Mr. Free Play, right? He'll get you to jump offside, and then Jordy Nelson or Garrett Wilson will go get a back shoulder fade. That's the play right there. He did it week 1 versus the 49ers. Alan Lazard, first touchdown of the season. Now, when they asked about these penalties, Salah said, well, maybe we might have to tone it down with the cadences. We might have to. They asked Aaron Rodgers, like, so Salah saying tone it down with the cadences. What do you think? He says, well, that's one way to do it. The other way is to hold people accountable. And it's like, yeah, duh, right? And it kind of sucks because Salah doesn't want to throw his guys under the bench, under the bus. He's a player's coach and he wants to have his guys back. I'm sure he's going to talk to them about it. But bro, Aaron Rodgers made a career off. He has more passing touchdowns in this scenario than some guys come in and play backup for 10 years and don't have as many passing touchdowns as Aaron Rodgers. And also, if it works for Aaron Rodgers, we're not changing shit. Like, we're not. Salah, this is his team, not yours. And that's what I think we're getting to right now. So we were talking about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, and that's why I kind of thought about the QB quarterback relationship, QB coach relationship, and how long it's going to last. If the Jets lose not just another 2 games or so, but another 1 or 2 games in this fashion where it just doesn't look good at all, are we talking? Are we getting Salah out of there, Kev? What's going on?
My only issue with that would be Robert Saleh is in charge of. Granted, he's a head coach. He's in charge of. He oversees everything. But that defense,
Yeah,
I mean, best cornerback in the league, in my opinion. Like, the kid week in and week out is allowing 0, 1, or I don't even think he's allowed 2 catches in a game all year.
it's Jair, but yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you think so.
I'm kidding. Come on.
But no, but I mean, you got that, and then the offense is what looks bad. Like, take away the San Francisco game where it just looked bad overall, and the defense has been just great. I mean, look at what they did in New England. They won that game with Bo Nix passing for like 65 yards. Like, they didn't move the ball. They scored 10 points. It felt like a game. I texted my friend. It felt like Zach Wilson was our quarterback again. And not because of the play from Aaron Rodgers. And granted, he had some terrible throws yesterday, but just because the offense couldn't get anything going and the defense dominated. And this was this is the same story as last year.
How do you feel about this, Kev? Sorry, but
no, you're good.
You mentioned there was a couple throws Aaron Rodgers made. Out of the 42 passes he made last night, there was a couple that were bad. 23 rushes. I mean, Breece Hall only had 10 carries in a rainy game. Aaron Rodgers had 5 carries, more carries.
The run game was going nowhere though. Like, Breece was being bottled up. I think they made it. They made it a point to take away the run, and Rodgers just couldn't take advantage of that. For whatever
Okay.
reason,
Okay.
the throws weren't. Several throws where receivers were open and he could just didn't. He's throwing them into the ground. Like it looked bad on Rogers' end, and it's a rainy day. I'm sure he's even less comfortable out there still early in the season coming back from the Achilles on a rainy field. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that maybe has something to do with it. I don't look too much into that loss yesterday. It's the first 4 weeks of the season aren't really a tell all for any team
For
to
sure.
me.
For sure.
So,
And I'm not calling for his head. I just,
oh yeah,
you can see the frustration is building. You know that Robert Salah is
Mhm.
already on that seat in a sense based on his previous years.
Yeah.
Um,
and
but he does have the cop out as the defensive guru.
so my answer would be if the
Demotion?
offense no, not even.
Oh,
But
okay, okay. Fire
if
that
the
OC.
if the offense has looked this bad last year and you go into this year and the
Yeah,
offense still looks this bad with Rodgers back,
yeah,
Nathaniel Hackett needs to be gone before Salah. Like
yeah.
Salah still
Okay,
to me is a guy who can motivate the team, who says
yeah,
the right things, who the defense again performs at an elite level week in and week out. And I don't think you get that without Robert Salah. So to me, Hackett needs to be the first guy on the staff to go if you're going to get rid of anybody.
yeah.
Rodgers seems to love Hackett. And I think Rodgers loves Hackett more so because he knows he has a lot of input with Hackett
Right.
being the offensive coordinator. So I think that's one of the main reasons why Rodgers is such a big Hackett guy is he knows he's got more pull
Yeah.
in that offense. And but if you're gonna make a change, to me, that's the change. I love what Joe Douglas has done. Everyone wanted to give him shit because he let Bryce Huff go and made the trade for Son Reddick. Guess what? They've got the same exact stats through 4 weeks of the season.
Mhm.
Bryce Huff is now on the bench, has removed everything Eagles related to his account on Instagram. Nobody's talking about that mess because it's not the Jets. But we'll eat it, and hopefully the offense gets to turn around and Rodgers starts to get more and more comfortable. They're playing in London next week, and then hopefully playing for first place against Buffalo on Monday night at home.
London town.
Playing who in London?
Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Number two, baby, revenge game across the bridge.
Hey, real
He
quick,
even
real
looks
quick.
British. Go ahead.
Hey, real quick.
so
Before we
does
move on
Rodgers
to
with the mustache.
that's funny. Before we move on to Ravens and Bills, more dysfunctional QB head coaching dynamic in Philly or in New York, June?
Definitely in Philly. I mean, in New York, like Kev did a good job of explaining here. Like, we know the issue in New York. Like, Salah is not your guy, and as much as he's your head coach, like Kev said, you don't blame him for certain things because it's like, how much control does he have over Aaron Rodgers and the offense? Like, that's not what he's in New York for. That's not what, and it sounds crazy.
No control over Aaron Rodgers. I tell you that right now.
It sounds crazy, but that's not what he's in New York for. What he's in New York for is already built, and they thought Hackett and the offense Hackett runs and Aaron Rodgers in relationship was gonna speed up the process to see something elite. That's just not clicking. And so, yeah, I think there's a chemistry issue, a timing issue. It's not about Aaron Rodgers doesn't like Salah. I don't think Aaron Rodgers hates his coaches. Jalen Hurts, we can't say that he doesn't hate Nick Sirianni because he won't say that he does, but he also won't say that he don't. So,
Well, listen, we're 2 weeks, 3 weeks, give it 2-3 weeks. Devontae Adams will be on the trade block. He'll come to the Jets. Everything will be all right.
All right.
Rodgers and Garrett will start to get it together. And listen, a wise man once said, RELAX. Relax.
Hey, man. Philly seemed to have forgotten that they had Saquon in Tampa Bay, but the Ravens definitely remembered that they had Derrick Henry on the squad this weekend. 24 carries, 199 yards, and that 87-yard long touchdown.
Yeah.
They take down the Bills 35-10 at the crib. The Bills were scoreless for half the game. June, how concerning is this loss if you are Buffalo?
It's not too concerning. I mean, the Ravens are arguably the best team in the league. They're one of them. They're the best rushing team in the league for sure. You get vintage Derrick Henry performance with a breakaway run. I feel like Derrick Henry in prime time is a breakaway run. Like, that's what we're going to get. the fact that he's still running the way he does with that size and speed at this point in his career is a testament to his work ethic. Um, but yeah, I think the Ravens are just doing a great job this season figuring out how to run the ball on teams. We saw the Cowboys who got dismantled in the run game versus the Ravens. Is that their run defense isn't good, but Ravens came in and did the same thing. And so for Lamar and Derrick Henry to kind of grow this relationship and what looks to be scary for the rest of the league. Now, you do want to see, you want to see them turn it around on the passing side of things, and you want to see Lamar Jackson throw for over 156 yards. But at the end of the day, it's about winning the game. It's about being efficient, taking care of the football. And I think Derrick Henry fumbled yesterday, and that's probably why he didn't get that 200 yards. But Lamar Jackson, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Outside of that fumble was the only mistake. They were able to also force a turnover on Josh Allen to get that back and recoup. They held him to under 200 passing yards. Like, I think this loss. Okay. So this is what you want me to do, E. I had to calculate in my head. The loss is a bit concerning now that I think about it, because yes, the Ravens are one of the best teams in the league, and they do have such a run game. But we know that the issue for Buffalo is, or what we thought was going to be the issue coming into the season, was Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. These are your pass catchers. You don't have Stephon Diggs here. You don't have, Gabe Davis or Cole Beasley for what it's worth. But is this how they're going to perform when they play an elite defense? Because that's what the Ravens have. And so the Bills, coming off of wins versus the Cardinals, the Dolphins, the Jags, not a lot of elite defenses in there, right? The Dolphins last year defense was really good. This year, ain't really doing too. I mean, they're not bad by any means, but we're talking like top 5 defense in the league. All right, cool. They've got to see what they got out of these guys for the next few weeks. They got the Texans, whose defense is strong. I'll say that. They're not by any means, in my opinion, elite, but they are strong. They got the Jets, who have an elite defense, and then they get a break versus the Titans, but then have to play the Seahawks, who've been playing really well and are up 21-7 on the actually down 21-7 to the Lions.
Yeah,
I read that wrong. But Seahawks are 3-0 and playing good this season. So it is a bit concerning, EP, because I don't know if Josh Allen is going to be able to do this. I've never seen him throw for 180 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a little alarming. Like, you got outran by Derrick Henry to your passing yards. So
yeah.
We'll see. Kev says it best. It's 4 weeks. We can't take too much from it. We do have a good enough sample size to say, hey, I mean, I think that the Commanders can win a division this year. Like, that's a healthy 4-week take, but we can't say that the loss for the Bills is so concerning. However, it does make me think, what are they going to do with these elite defenses they play?
I think last night's game was just like the perfect storm for that to happen. Like, the Bills were due for one of those games.
For sure.
The Ravens were due for one of those games. Sunday Night Football, prime time in Baltimore. Like, it was a perfect storm for that to be the outcome. We're waiting for the game for the Derrick Henry breakout and Lamar Jackson to look like the MVP that he was last year. We got that. We were waiting for Josh Allen for that receiving core to look like it hurt Josh Allen more than it helps Josh Allen, and that happened. And everything considered, I just think that was a perfect storm for that to happen last night.
A lot more that we'll get into shortly in the NFL. I mean, Jaguars let Houston walk them down. Bengals get their first one of the season. We'll get into a couple other things in other news segment, but I do want to kick it over to the MLB, where Wildcard bracket is officially underway. We had a crazy doubleheader this afternoon here in Atlanta with the Mets in town to decide for all the marbles, which, once again, I said on the last part, doubleheader for all the marbles is crazy, but you know what? Let's get to it. And it looked like the first couple innings, Kev, like the Mets were going to do some Mets shit in game one and just let the season slip away. And Lord and behold, they come back, they win 8-7, lose the second game 3-0, but they punched their ticket as well as Atlanta. The Diamondbacks go 5-5 in their last 10 games and are out. The defending NL champions are out of the playoffs. We will not see Arizona play in October. But the Mets are in the playoffs, gentlemen. The Mets are in the playoffs. What a beautiful sight to see. They will play the Brewers in round one, while the Braves will play. You got me. While the Braves will play the San Diego Padres, who clinched on a triple play late last week. So you got Detroit, Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, AL wild card. You got Mets, Brewers, Braves, Padres. Best of three in the wild card matchup. We will be back on Thursday evening, gentlemen. So game 3, if necessary, as the label says. June, which one of these teams do you think won't have, or which one of these matchups do you think will not have a third game for the series?
You know what? I don't know, man. The wild card is a crazy time in baseball. We see wild shit. I thought today was going to be a sweep, possibly, as far as Mets Braves. Either way it went, I don't know which way it was going to go, but I thought it was going to be a sweep. I won't call it. I think Baltimore, KC's going 3 games for sure. I feel like the Mets Brewers is going to be a good series. That'll go 3 games. Who did you say the Braves are playing? The Braves are playing
the Padres.
Padres. Whew. And you know what? I think that series can go 2-0 either way. And that, like, I don't think it will, but all right, that's going to be the series that I say. If any of these do, it's going to be Braves Padres, and it'll probably be Braves 2-0, but I could see that. I could definitely see that.
The Mets had 6 games against the Brewers this year, and they lost 5 of them. The Brewers are 5-1 against the Mets this season. The Padres and the Braves had 7 games combined, and San Diego barely edged it out 4-3. I'm in agreement with you as far as that Kansas City and Baltimore series. I think that does go 3 games. The Detroit series, that one's a little tougher for me to call. As much as I hate Houston, at some point I got to respect them, and they do have Framber Valdez on the mound for game 1. So they're expecting to come out swinging, no pun intended. Kev, how do you like this first round of the wild card series?
To answer the question as June, I think shout out to Tariq Schoolball, by the way, when the triple crown, the pitching triple crown. But if they do not win game 1 of that series, Houston is taking both of those games, and Detroit will be out of there in 2 games. But the one you talked about, the Mets being 1-5 against the Brewers. The one was on the last day of the season in a game that the Mets had to win, and the Brewers had absolutely nothing to play for. So I think that's another one that we could see possibly the Brewers end up taking. But I know I've been the main one on this podcast talking about the Mets being the Mets. We have Linsanity officially. With
Lindor.
with Lindor hitting that home run. We were texting during the game, and I was like, the Braves are being the Mets against the Mets. And then very next inning, the Mets did some Mets shit, and then the very next inning, the Braves did some Mets shit. And it was Francisco Lindor doing it to them. And I told you guys in the chat, like I opened the chat to text you guys, like, Lindor has an opportunity to do what they brought him here to do, and he did it. Like, as I'm typing, I'm about to type the text to you, and he hits a home run. So shout out to Francisco Lindor. It's a big time home run in a big time spot where you need it, and maybe they can We're
By
not
the
getting the Subway
way-
Series because the Mets are not getting there. The Yankees are getting there. The Mets will not.
Neither team will be there.
Hey man, Kansas City and Baltimore, I think, is going to be the most exciting one. Baltimore did take the season series 4-2. They got 2 games at home, 2 games on the road. Interesting narrative here. Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr. were the 2 top picks of 2019's amateur draft when the Orioles and the Royals were amongst the worst teams in the sport, and now they are matching up in the wild card. And hey, I'm gonna say KC 2-1 because I love an underdog story, and that's how I'm gonna kick it to y'all. Bobby Witt Jr. is gonna have at least 3 home runs in this series. Clock it right now. Right
Damn.
now.
You might as well smash that shit on the bet. Hey, real quick, Jared Goff just caught a fucking touchdown pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it was a beautiful throw. I'm not gonna lie. It was a wheel route, a great wheel route, and a greater throw. That was pretty cool. But hey man, you got Detroit. Hey, look, Detroit sports is rocking right now. Like, obviously not in basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say except for the
But like, you know, we got Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Michigan is not in Detroit. I understand that. Don't kill me, y'all. I know. But Ann Arbor, Michigan. We got the Detroit Lions coming off of an NFC championship, going back to the playoffs this year, winning on Monday Night Football, about to beat an undefeated team. And then we got the Tigers, who I didn't think they was gonna make the playoffs this year. Found themselves in a wild card. Got to give credit, man. That 3-1-0, they going crazy over there.
There's always one team in the MLB that you don't expect that gets there, and the Tigers were definitely that team this year.
Yeah, Tigers were one of the worst teams not too long ago. Like, historically,
that's what
bad.
I was
Obviously,
saying. Yeah,
washed their historically bad season away, and now it's like we'll just think about the White Sox in recent memory. But the Tigers were bad. The Tigers were bad. So
I love the fucking Javier Baez highlights, and it's just him striking out,
swinging at everything.
Oh man.
I don't like him. It's Carlos Correa. I can't respect.
Oh
I just
God,
don't really like Javier Baez.
Doesn't matter what jersey Carlos Correa's in. All right, you could be in Houston, you could be in Minnesota, you could be on Pluto for all I care, bro. Get out of here.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Not a fan. 0 out of 10. Wouldn't recommend. You heard?
Fake Puerto Rican. Nah, let me stop.
Yo.
I can't do that.
Before we kick it over to other news and wrap it up, I want to take it over to EP's EPL because the English Premier League is very interesting this year. Very interesting this season. Liverpool undefeated. I lied. They got no draws. 1 loss. 5-1, 5-0-1, but they do hold the first place in the table. Manchester City right behind them. Arsenal behind Manchester City. Chelsea holding the top 4 Champions League place right now in the EPL, something that we have seen them struggle to do in the last couple of seasons. Aston Villa and Fulham in there. Ipswich Town, newly promoted. They got no wins. They got 4 losses. They just drew another game this weekend, so they got no wins, 4 losses, 2 draws.
Hey, good draw.
Hey, Leicester City, man, a team that we typically see, up in the 7, 8, 9 in the table right now, man. No wins, 3 losses, 3 draws through 6 games, -4 goal differential. They got 3 points right now in the league. They're down there and facing relegation. We're early on in the season, but
I wish they did this shit for the fucking football, for American football. Panthers need to face relegation and go down to the FCS.
Send them to the XFL.
Yeah. Like, let's get another team from there and see if they can win.
they need to play. They need to play that Bishop team or whatever.
Bishop Sycamore. That's crazy.
Oh my God. Oh man. Hey, in other news, Kansas City, the Chiefs, they lose their wide receiver 1. They do come out with a win this week at SoFi Stadium in LA. They lose the wide receiver 1. Pacheco's out 6 to 8 weeks. Rashee Rice is out with an ACL tear. Kev, how concerning is this?
I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, so you can't be 100% concerned, but there has to be some concern because of the fact that Travis Kelce before yesterday did not look like Travis Kelce of old.
Facts.
It could have been Rashee Rice went down and he found out, hey, he's out of the game. He's like, let me turn this on today. And we may see that Travis Kelce for the rest of the season now that he knows that he's got to be the guy. But I think having Xavier Worthy is big for that team because he can take the top off of a defense. And granted, you had two of those guys with Rashee Rice in there also. But I think having Worthy kind of alleviates a little bit of that pressure in losing Rice. I'm sure they'd much rather have Rashee Rice on the field, especially with the injury to Pacheco and the injury to Hollywood Brown, who they brought. Like you get those three guys in the. I would have loved to see that offense with Mahomes at quarterback. Like having Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy as your three receivers with Kelce at tight end and Pacheco in the backfield. Like that's a scary offense. Now it's not so scary, but having Patrick Mahomes back there, you still got to respect it. And I will say, if he can get it done again this year with these injuries that has happened, I mean, solidifies just everything about him. So if he hasn't already, I'm sure some people are still not solidified in the fact that he's already a top 5 guy ever at the position. But if he does it this year to be the first ever to three-peat and does it with the injuries that and the challenges that this team has been facing thus far in the season, then I mean, like you've got to cement it. So
no, 1,000%. Hey, I want to kick it back all the way over to last Thursday. We had Thursday Night Football. Cowboys do beat the Giants 20-15 at MetLife. Malik Neighbors did leave the game late with a concussion. Whew. But they let the Giants stay in the game like that. Is this the Cowboys that we're going to see moving forward, June, or are they just warming up? It's like you guys were saying, this is just 4 weeks in.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to be better. They have personnel. Like, they have talent on that team. I mean, they're full of studs. It's unfortunate that DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons go down in that game, and DeMarcus Lawrence is expected to miss at least 4 to 6, I think. Micah Parsons has a high ankle sprain. That's a couple week injury, as far as being a pass rusher. I mean, football, you got to plant your feet in the dirt every play. But, as far as pass rushing, being on that line, having to, use leverage against 6, 7 guys, it's tough. So he's going to miss a couple weeks. And I would like to say that this is the Cowboys of right now, and, they're going to have to figure things out. But with these guys missing time, it's concerning. And Dak Prescott, he's like hot and cold. And he's been like that for the last few years, but he's got to tighten it up, man. And they've got to figure something out where they can get a system of consistency. Because right now, you're in a game with the Giants. I told you on Thursday before the game, like, yo, the Giants could come with all the momentum they got and use it to play a divisional game and, be tied or be number 1 in that division this week. They didn't take advantage of the opportunity. Daniel Jones is just not a good quarterback. He just misses too many throws. And even when he has time.
But Malik Neighbors is a good receiver.
Yeah, and he makes Daniel Jones look good. That's how good he is. That's how
absolutely
good he is.
1,000%. Hey, don't look now, but the Commanders are number 1 in the
NFC East.
NFC East. Thank you. Number 1 in the NFC East. Kev, can they hold on to this and win a division?
They could. I mean, listen, I think Dan Quinn gets a lot of shit. I don't know why. I mean, he's taking the team to a Super Bowl, and if not for Mike Shanahan going super conservative, or I don't know what Mike Shanahan did in that Super Bowl, but
Kyle Shanahan.
I'm sorry. Kyle Shanahan in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, he's probably a Super Bowl winning head coach. So the guy can coach. He's got this team motivated. He's got this team fired up. Cliff Kingsbury coming in as the OC.
He got that offense rolling, bro.
Yeah, they've got and Jaden Daniels has. I mean, if he's looked great, like take for what it is. He's been efficient with the football. He's made good decisions. He hasn't looked like a rookie. He's looked. I wouldn't say as good as CJ Stroud looks last year, but he's looked very good. Like he's looked like a
I
guy
mean,
who can,
how not? I think he has. He has an 82% completion percentage.
it's reminding me of RG3. Like coming into the
Okay.
league with that team and just like he's mobile, he can move, he's got that same build, he could sling the football. You know, you hope that he can stay healthy, and if he can, I think Washington's got it. And his connection with Terry McLaurin gets better and better week after week, and that I think is the scariest part to me because Terry, to me, is one of the most criminally underrated receivers in the NFL. So
Yeah.
if that connection and chemistry continues to get better and better, I think that team just gets better and better. Brian Robinson running the hell out of the football. They're playing great. So
Love it.
defense is probably the weakness on that team, but if that offense is clicking week in and week out, you're gonna have to put up some points to beat that team.
There you go. Hey, we'll go from Dan Quinn to Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers goes down. Arch Manning comes in. He now has 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Manning legacy continues, June. What does Arch Manning need to do to keep his job and not allow Quinn Ewers to come back and take helm under center?
Nah, I don't. It's this is a weird situation. Like, and I know Steve Sarkisian's probably like, fucking name, bro. I didn't need Quinn Ewers to get hurt because we know how good Arch Manning is. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows. We recruited him. We know. They see him in practice all the time. Defense plays against him. We're the number 1 team in the country. Like Arch Manning has got it. And so I think I don't want to answer this question. I don't want to be the person that has to answer this question, and I don't want to be the person responsible for making the decision as far as who gets to play. I would say when Quinn Ewers is cleared to play, you put him back. That guy is a fucking Heisman Trophy candidate, nominee. You got him for a reason. Upperclassman, like you're gonna have your time with Arch. I don't think you could do Quinn Ewers dirty and keep him on the bench, which Arch is giving you every reason to do it. Right? Every reason to just be like, yo, look, bro.
And he's having fun while he's doing it too.
But Quinn Ewers is not. Quinn Ewers is not a quarterback that like you don't know. Oh, what if he comes in this weekend? Quinn Ewers is gonna fucking ball for the rest of the season. As long as he's in there with that receiver core and that offensive line, Quinn Ewers is gonna ball. So I do think you give it back to them. You give it back to him. But it's one of those things where I'm sure Sarkisian's like, shit, I don't know. He probably asks his wife, like, babe, what do you think, man? This is shit I got to deal with.
Hey, we saw how well that philosophy worked for the Giants GM. He started asking family members, and it didn't really work out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross over this hour 32 mark, this has been your Monday evening All Things Sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Odds in the ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. Brill, shout out to you. Appreciate you tapping in with us. If you tapped in with us in the live as well, we thank you so much because you could have been anywhere in the world on this beautiful evening, but you were here with us, and we'll see you all Thursday evening. Peace.